Hey guys, this is a tutorial video for Japanese 2-cycle heli skip. I'm going to go over all the visual cues I have, all the things I look at and think about while I'm doing it, to hopefully give other runners a bit of insight they could use when they attempt this trick themselves. So this is going to be a very in-depth and basically niche video. This is not going to explain how heli skip works, it's not going to go over the various methods of doing heli skip, it's not going to go over Chad strats, it's not going to go over reverse kibo. This is just going to be how I personally do the fastest method, Japanese 2-cycle heli skip. If you don't know how to do heli skip at all and you're interested in learning, this video is not going to be very useful, if at all. So I strongly suggest you close this video and go to JSRFspeedruns.com and read the material there. There's a whole section on just heli skip with a bunch of videos and tips and tricks to get you started. You could also consider watching my previous heli skip tutorial from 2018. The route I do there is pretty outdated, but it does explain how heli skip works, and gives you a general sense of the movement you'll be doing. I will link both of those resources in the description below. So having said all that, let's get started. So enter with at least 20 cans, grab the entrance blues, and reload the level. Now if you entered kibo as gum, which I'll assume 99% of you did, you'll need to do an extra reload at some point to continue the run as gum and not as corn. I do my extra reload here so I can do both cycles as gum. There's literally no benefit to using corn here. His spray and grind stats are equal to gum's and his cornering is worse. So just do the extra reload here and do the whole trick as gum. So here's first cycle. I definitely consider this the hardest of the 2 cycles by quite a bit. If you don't want to rely on dashes, you need to optimize everything else as much as you possibly can. This strat is consistent without dashes, but only just. So try and replug during the cutscene to get your dashes back if you don't have them. So dash out of the save point towards the rail, and try to approach the rail at as straight of an angle as possible, so you make the most use of your grind magnetism. You don't want to lose frames by approaching the rail at a diagonal. Now grind and shuffle up to the pole, and when I start grinding I count 4 X tricks, and then 4 X plus down tricks to get an optimal speed. And note that I start spraying in between the 3rd and 4th X plus down trick, because you want to start spraying as soon as possible. This X plus down strat is a bit finicky. It puts you in a good position speed-wise, but sometimes you can still be going a little too fast, in which case I adjust on the fly and hope it works out. If you miss a tag, it's no big deal. Just continue with the cycle as normal, and add an extra cycle to go get that tag. And then grab the appropriate amount of cans before you start your escape. So after the XL, spray the L, and then in graffiti camera I jump and press down at the same time. This puts you at a friendlier angle when you approach the XL. This doesn't actually save any time since you jump for the same duration in either case, but it's less correction to do, so less chance for things to go wrong. One more thing that I'll just mention now, but is true for pretty much the whole trick, is to not do air tricks. Air tricks keep you in the air for a little bit longer and make you fall a little bit slower. And in a trick like this, you need to save all the frames you can. Now land and spray the XL, and then as soon as graffiti camera ends, dash upright and fall to the rail. Again, optimizing how you spray this tag is a must if you don't want to rely on dashes. So grind back up, and I boost as soon as I grind over this bump in the rail here. This will make the boost last just long enough to boost jump off of it at the required speed. Note that if Hayashi pops up after you go over the bump, you're in a good spot. If he pops up before you go over the bump, it's still possible, but you need to prepare yourself for a really tight pause when you try to reload the level. Once you land from the boost jump, boost again through the cans and fall and shuffle to the save point. If you reload the level and the text isn't fading out, then you're good. If the text is fading out, there's a 99% chance you're too late. I say 99% because if you reload on the first frame of the fade out, it'll still work, but any frame after that is too late. So another thing I want to point out is when's the earliest time you can pause. This frame right here is the earliest point where you can reload the level, and is generally what you want to be aiming for every time. The hitbox is actually pretty accurate to the save point visually, so if Gum's skates look like they're inside the boundary, then they probably are. This is really useful knowledge to have because, depending on how your first cycle goes, you might only have a few frames to pause before the trick fails. So if you happen to pause early, What you can do is press A to unpause and then press start again as fast as you can. This will hopefully advance a couple frames so you can try to reload without running out of dialogue. I recommend taking 10-15 minutes to just practice it. You can practice it anywhere that doesn't have lag. It's quick to practice, it's not that hard, and it can actually save you a run if you're proficient at it. So reload the level, get the entrance blues like normal. You need at least 23 cans, but for safety you should have at least 25. So now for second cycle. Boost out of the save point, through the cans, onto the rail. Spray these tags, and right as you round this corner, boost, and I mash L to reset the camera as soon as possible. Then a little bit after the camera resets, I jump up left to the roof. So now we're running on the roof, and when I see Gum running on the downward slope, that's when I boost jump. So for this tag, I spray it in the air, and as soon as I land on the rail, I press up and jump at the same time while in graffiti camera. This should give you a good enough angle to go pretty much straight towards the next tag. And again, don't do air tricks. Now as soon as I land on the roof, I hop to the next rail, right on this corner, and as soon as I round the next corner, I spray and boost at the same time. Then right after I see the camera start to turn back around, like this, that's when I jump. If that cue doesn't work for you, then something else you could do is to jump at the halfway point of this rail segment. You'll have to keep track of where that is mentally, but that's a cue that's helped me in the past. Try them both and see which works best for you. So right after I jump, I spray, and at this point, Gum will land and start running on the roof. As soon as she starts running on the roof, I tap down right. This gives me pretty much the best angle for cutting the corner as much as possible, without getting caught on the wall. This tap on the roof in graffiti camera strat is really important. I suggest anyone who's trying to learn this trick to put a substantial amount of effort into getting this consistent. So try to get this down as much as you can. So once I clear the corner, I hold left as soon as I can to curve around, and the boost should last just long enough to boost jump to the lower rail. For this tag, I jump up right as I touch the corner. Then in the air, I hold left to try and cut the corner, and then I spray the tag right before I start grinding the upper rail. So after this tag, I let the camera rotate back by itself. This gives me a good side view of the rail because I want to jump off this rail as late as possible. This is where my other Hayashi cue is. If you jump for the billboards before Hayashi pops up, you're in a good spot. If Hayashi's already there, then the trick is probably dead unless you get a frame boost. So jump off the billboard, and this jump is the only jump in the trick where I do air tricks, because if you don't, then the jump from the billboard to the wire is actually really tight, and I fail it more often than not. But once you're on the wire, all you do is boost and hope you make it. Now here it is in real time. Alright, so the last thing I want to mention concerns the water tower soul right here. If you don't get it now, then just don't worry about it. But if you're running hundo or something and you do get it now, then what I do is I continue grinding onto the vertical part of the pole, and as soon as Gum goes vertical, I press A to flip off. And once I'm in the air, I hold hard right until I land, and I get the soul. That's all you have to do. It looks really scary, it looks really hard, but I promise you, it's really not. Just make sure you don't quick turn into the water after you get the soul. And that's pretty much how I do heli skip. Good luck with practice, and if you have any questions you can find me on Discord. The links will be down below. Thanks for watching.